I live in County Leitrim, and in terms of technology, we just had the first set of traffic lights put in the whole county. So that's where I'm coming from, you know. So I'm just going to describe how I started out as an independent developer and the challenges and rewards on the road to publishing our first app. And then I'm going to talk about virtual reality, how to fill our senses and make virtual objects believable using Instrument Studio VR as an example. Okay, so just a background. I played in various bands for around 16 to my early 30s, mostly in the north of Ireland. Also travelled and played in Ireland and England. But I did the full musician thing and I ended up in rehab for alcohol addiction. Took me a few attempts to stay sober. After that I went back to college and got qualifications in electronic engineering, an ICT tutor, and also worked in civil service and banking. And in 2015, as I reached 10 years sober, I decided to treat myself to a nice gadget as a reward. I had followed the launch of the Optimus CB1 and had been fascinated by the idea of virtual reality ever since watching Red Dwarf in the late 80s. So you see, the Optimus DK2 had been available for a few months, so I ordered one. And its arrival meant a consuming new hobby, which relegated all other hobbies and interests to second place. Obviously, I pre-ordered the Optimus CB1, the consumer version, as the VR bug had bitten hard, and I also ordered the touch controllers as soon as they became available to me. The touch controllers brought the virtual reality experience to a completely new level, but 3 months later my headphones suffered the CB1 infamous broken right headphone issue, and I had to send it back for replacement. Now I had 3 weeks to wait for a replacement, so I downloaded Unity with the sole intention of trying to rig some personal avatars for VR chat. Instead, I ended up watching some beginner guides for Unity. I created some basic scenes, and 3 weeks later, when my new Rift had arrived, I was walking about in these scenes that had now become 3D worlds. My mind was suitably blown. I viewed some more videos in coding in C# and then spent a lot of time reading on Stack Overflow and the Unity forums. And I had really enjoyed playing Ensign Stage, which is an early VR instrument app. And so being a musician, I decided to try and challenge myself to make a virtual reality drum kit first. And even though I hadn't a clue about all the ins and outs of coding, I persevered until I'd made a full drum kit and percussive instruments. I made a full-scale piano next, then a fully functioning synthesizer, including sustain peals, pitch wheels, and effects. Virtual reality guitar apps that you actually play real dynamic notes from didn't exist. All were turned into games. So I ended up making electric, acoustic, and bass guitars, as you can see. I used many different haptics. This is a good example here. We're talking about haptics to make things believable. So for example, in this app, when you select a chord with your left hand, you'll get one haptic. You'll get 6 separate haptics as you play through each note. You'll also feel the vibration of the chord in your left hand. You'll also feel the vibration of the whammy bar if you use it. And you'll also feel the damp of the back of your hand as you stop the note. So it's building up all these layers of haptics, sound, audio, and vision that makes a difference. So all the instruments in the app are completely dynamic, so the sound's tone, volume, changes depending on how hard they hit. We also added in loads of effects like echo, chorus, reverb, 3D and 2D spatial audio, and you can use your keyboard, foot pedals, play kick drums, hi-hats, etc. You can also upload and personalize and use your own tracks, drum sounds, samplers, loops, and upload file pictures of your chords and lyrics. So the next puzzle to overcome was a virtual recording desk with separate vocal and instrument tracks. I also made a sampler keyboard so users can record vocal samples or upload their own sounds. And no one saw me for weeks as I buried myself into solving this one. But sorry, I'm not giving away any trade secrets today. That was painful. I made a compose mode for the piano. So this, when you record your notes as you play, records in an actual piano score, which you can print out later. So you're actually creating things in the virtual world that you can use in the real world. To complete that, I added a media player, timer, metronome, third-person camera, and a loop machine. I'd learned enough to build what I came to realise would be the world's first complete virtual reality recording studio. I submitted the app to the Octave Start program and was thankfully accepted. This was great help in terms of hardware and software sponsorship, meaning the only real development cost was my time. There's also great support on the Start forum and from the Octave team. This gave me the confidence to keep working on the app and hopefully get published. So another 1.5 years were spent killing bugs, improving playing performance, reducing latency, and trying to hit frame rate. And you might know these guys. Any takers? So I was looking for some good musicians to help test and improve the app, and my old friends Kenny and Carl Pattenfris from Relish, they were on the radio being interviewed by Ray Darcy. And we grew up together and played in our first bands coming from the same part of Downpatrick, County Down. So I made contact and demoed the app, and they have been thankfully on the SkyWatcherVR team since, despite taking on the arduous job of managing Sinead O'Connor last year. They've been advising on technical audio issues, recording high quality samples, and helping test the app. So really enjoyed it. Hard to call this, developing this app as work, because it's really what I want to be doing anyway, you know. So the company itself, SkyWatcherVR, is a new independent XR software publishing and development company, and we're based in Keshcarrigan, County Leitrim. I live where Finn McCool is buried, if you ever want to visit. I launched the company in November 19 and submitted for Oculus Store approval, and I got the app launched on the 3rd of December past. The day of release just happened by coincidence to be my 50th birthday. We are currently working on porting the app for Valve Index, Oculus Quest and Vive Cosmos, and we're working on beta 5 finger tracking for Quest. We intend to bring multiplayer and live versions in the future. So I just want to have a wee look at some of the challenges that you come across when you develop apps or get into development, and particularly in regard to Instrument Studio VR. So the bigger problems for audio is reducing audio latency or lag. So that means you should see, feel and hear the audio in a believable way. And we'll talk a wee bit more about that later. There's also audio zipping, and that occurs when you go from a high volume sound to a low volume back up again. You try to play notes quickly, it's a very horrible sound, so how to overcome all that. And then obviously optimizing all the scripts, CPU and the graphics. Very tedious process, but it's fighting for performance and hit correct frame rate. And you don't get the same buzz that you do in early experimental development when you're creating exciting new things. So the fundamental for VR is frame rate, and for Instrument Studio VR to perform correctly, the app needs to run at a full 90 frames per second for riff. The performance can lag when it drops below 90 frames per second, and asynchronous space warp kicks in, which then halves the frame rate. Works well in some apps, but for ours we need 90 at all times. Okay, there's also lots of things to learn. Say for me, I had to learn the Unity game engine, C#, that Mono developed for coding, the Oculus SDK, Blender for making 3D objects, GIMP photo editor, OBS to record videos, DaVinci Resolve video editor, Paint 3D and Audacity. So all this software is free. There's free versions that any of you can download and start if you want to get started development. And another thing for all instruments, particularly Instrument Studio VR, it's very hard to physically play in empty space because there's nothing to resist you. So say with force feedback and other things coming in, haptic and resistive gloves, it should change things in the future. There's other things that are out of your control, challenges, things you challenge yourself. These are things that are completely out of your control. So my sister's down there, she'll know from last year, my car decided to set itself on fire last year at 1 o'clock in the morning while I was in bed. I was just very lucky to be alive and get my dog out. The development PC and my app backups were also in the same house. So I was just lucky to get out in one piece. There's also last minute hitches from the store publication, as the app was due to release at 6 p.m. UK Ireland time, but it didn't show up for 5 long painful hours. This was my 50th birthday, so you know, I had 10 minutes of my birthday to celebrate at the end. So finally got published at 10 at midnight. Then the Rift S, this is a Quest, different from this. Rift S released with very inferior audio to the CB1 we initially were designing for. And then there's constant software updates from Windows, NVIDIA, Unity and Oculus causing performance issues. It's even happening today. You might notice anyone using Windows, your search has suddenly disappeared even from yesterday. There's the Oculus had big problems with their versions 12, 13 and now 14 upgrades for both Quest and Rift. So this ongoing battle, there's certain things are out of your control. I'm very pleased that this old dog's brain was able to learn some new tricks and hopefully keep some degenerative diseases at bay. Nice trick for the future. So there's a huge satisfaction of finally cracking a hard problem, and the longer the fight, the bigger the buzz. I did find development and particularly coding very stimulating for the brain because it combines my the techie side and the creative side. So this was great for me, and it keeps me well away from the pump. And the other thing was getting on the Octave Start program was a great help and a great boost of confidence. And then passing all the software checks and getting an Oculus Store for publication was a real milestone. And meeting and working with very interesting people in the immersive tech, music and radio worlds, and it was nice to be the first to be able to do something by releasing the world's first complete virtual recording studio. I love to see new musicians getting creative and learn to play using the app. Recently I got an award nomination for Best Animated Education Project, and that was at Dreamland XR CES 2020 in Las Vegas. And the last one is virtual reality and playing music are pretty cool pastimes, and for me there's no better way to pass the time than combining them. So I'm just going to talk a wee bit about what I see as the two main things involved in development for me. And the first one is self-torture and the second one is persistence. And we'll have a look at that. So you open up your game engine and your coding software and you think, I just wonder could I do this little thing in my app? Just an idea. Very soon you've created yourself a problem where none existed before. The problem will torture you until you find a solution. This will take minutes, months, or years. You can remember the scene in Father Ted when they're up all night riding My Lovely Horse. That sums up development for me. And the last one is this little doggy, and a very dull persistence, and he sometimes says, sometimes you got to dig a little deeper. And that's all of what it is. So the personal reward after many tries, iterations, scripts and variations is you get a huge buzz of self-satisfaction, which always ends up the obligatory fist pump, and you wear a large grin until you set yourself the next problem and just loop and repeat. So we're just going to quick look at the senses and layers of believability. These layers we add on to make virtual reality and virtual objects believable. And the main one is the 5 senses, and particularly the 3 that we use mostly of in VR. And the sense of sight, to be believable in VR, we need to maintain our 90 frames per second, like all applications. We also need to be able to perceive that within 20 milliseconds of actually seeing something for sight. The sense of touch is different. Sense of touch, it's up to 70 milliseconds by the time you touch something that you can perceive it as happening in real time. The sense of hearing, it could be up to 130 milliseconds between you actually hearing something. So hearing, seeing and touching all has to be done in those general ratios. 20 milliseconds for sound, 70 milliseconds for touch, and around 110 for audio. And so there's a potential for immersive technology to eliminate the need for manufacturing, transport, and replacing and repairing most objects in the real world by simulated virtual objects. We call them SVOs. SVOs would be fully functional virtual objects that you could just purchase just like the real ones. Expensive items like instruments, virtual instruments, TVs, monitors, phones, tablets will all exist as SVOs in the future at a very low cost. So immersive tech can eliminate the need for most travel using virtual work, learning and play spaces. We're already using them. I'm sure the guys using big screen, VR chat, all space VR. Most VR developers are already using these worlds to work in. So you could literally live in a large cardboard box that feels like a palace, furnished with only the biggest and best of gadgets. So there are different ways of becoming a developer. Normally you go to college for 4 years and be in major debt, or accidentally become a developer like me, thanks to addiction, recovery and a broken headset. So thank you all for listening to my story. I hope some of you that don't develop yet may be encouraged to do so. I'm looking forward to demoing Instrument Studio VR across here in a bit, and I'll be letting some of you loose to try some of the instruments, and I can answer some of your questions then. Just thanks again to James and everyone from 3DCamp for the invite, for organising such a great event. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the demos tonight. So just to finish, a quick plug, Instrument Studio VR is now available on the Oculus Store for Oculus Rift and Rift S. It also works with the Valve Index at the minute using Revive and the Oculus Quest with the Link Beta. You can find us, SkyWatcherVR, on Twitter, Discord, YouTube, and web for more information. So thank you for your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. All the best.